Hello, I'm Melissa Hekalea, and this is TVB News. Giant pandas An and KK, which are being gifted to Hong Kong by Beijing, are set to arrive in the city tomorrow. During the pandas' farewell ceremony in Sichuan today, panda experts said the animals will have the opportunity to breed next year. Jackie Lin reports.
The farewell ceremony in Sichuan began with words of blessing to giant pandas An and Ke ahead of their imminent trip to Hong Kong. The China Giant Panda Conservation and Research Center handed over the two pandas' documents to Ocean Park representatives. A video showing the growth of An and Ke over the years after they were born in 2019. Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Kevin Yeung said Hong Kong is ready to welcome the two pandas. Xu Changxing from the National Forestry and Grassland Administration said two Sichuan panda experts will follow the two pandas to Hong Kong. Experts said the breeding process of the two 5-year-old giant pandas might begin next year, and chances are high that they can mate with each other. Li Desheng, deputy director of the China Giant Panda Conservation and Research Center, said the two pandas are a good match after evaluating their genetic makeup. When they complete quarantine, the pair can get more familiar with each other through mesh windows, where they can sniff each other's scent. As for the transport arrangement on Thursday, experts said the temperature of the warehouse will be maintained at around 20 to 25 degrees Celsius, with contingency plans at the ready. Veterinarian Cheng Yanxi said their cage is about 1.5 square meters in size. That means the panda can lie down and even stand in it. But if they are seen to be under great stress during the journey to Hong Kong, a small amount of tranquilizer will be administered. Upon their arrival, the two new giant pandas will be taken to the Panda Pavilion at the Hong Kong Jockey Club Sichuan Treasures of Ocean Park. The first phase of its facility expansion work has completed. The second phase of the renovation is expected to commence before the end of this year. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
As the home of the giant panda, Sichuan province has been actively promoting the panda economy. Sakura Ip takes a look at how the local tourism and hospitality sectors are seizing opportunities linked to the iconic animals.
From the airport to the streets, panda can be seen everywhere in Sichuan. In recent years, the province has been developing its panda economy. Last year alone, its cultural and creativity industry generated revenue of 230 billion yuan, with local officials projecting growth to at least 310 billion yuan next year. The city is adorned with panda-themed attractions. We even spotted a lazy panda taking a selfie in this bustling shopping plaza. The giant panda sculpture behind me is created by Dutch artist Florentin Hoffman. He also created a rubber duck which visited Hong Kong's Victoria Harbour before. Tourists like Miss Chi find attractions and overall atmosphere delightful. She believes that the panda is deeply embedded in Chengdu's identity. Meanwhile, a local hotpot restaurant has introduced panda-themed elements to attract customers, resulting in a 20% increase in patronage. This hotel is entirely panda-themed. The hotel's manager noted recent media attention on several star pandas has significantly boosted business, with last year's revenue surpassing the total from the 3 years of pandemic. This year, nearly 90% of guests during the peak season are visiting specifically to see pandas. He also plans to attract more foreign tourists, as he noticed an increase in visitors from Southeast Asia. Sakura, TVB News, Sichuan.
Sources said a Marine police couple were involved in a traffic accident while traveling in Iceland. The husband died and the wife was injured. The accident happened at around 2 p.m. on Tuesday, local time. The 34-year-old husband and 35-year-old wife were driving at the time of the incident. The husband was confirmed dead while the wife was injured. Sources said the husband worked at the Marine Police's North Division, while the wife worked at a Marine Police training facility. U.S. President Joe Biden addressed world leaders at the United Nations General Assembly for the last time on Tuesday. He declared that Russia's war in Ukraine has failed and that Israel and Hezbollah fighters in Lebanon are edging towards all-out war. This as UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned that the world is facing unprecedented challenges and stressed that global solutions are needed to tackle them. Tracy Furness has more.
America will change.
With only 4 months left in office, President Joe Biden's appearance before the international body offered him one of his last opportunities as president to make the case to keep up support for Ukraine, which could be in doubt if Donald Trump defeats Kamala Harris in the November presidential election.
Will we sustain our support to help Ukraine win this war and preserve its freedom, or walk away and let aggression be renewed and a nation be destroyed? I know my answer. We cannot grow weary. We cannot look away. And we will not let up on our support for Ukraine, not until Ukraine wins a just and durable peace in the UN Charter.
Biden declared the U.S. must not retreat from the world as Israel and Hezbollah fighters in Lebanon edge towards all-out war, and Israel's operation against Hamas in Gaza nears its one-year mark. The Pentagon announced Monday it was sending additional troops to the Middle East to supplement the roughly 40,000 in the region. This as the White House insists Israel and Hezbollah still have time to step back and de-escalate.
Since October 7, we've also been determined to prevent a wider war that engulfs the entire region. Hezbollah, unprovoked, joined the October 7 attack, launching rockets into Israel. Almost a year later, too many on each side of the Israeli-Lebanon border remain displaced. A full-scale war is not in anyone's interest. Even if the situation has escalated, a diplomatic solution is still possible.
Biden also talked about artificial intelligence and the need for the world to act now in putting up guardrails to protect citizens of the world from the dangers it may pose. He also talked about the need to uphold, in his own words, our principles as we seek to responsibly manage the competition with China so it does not veer into conflict. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres painted a picture of deepening geopolitical divisions, wars with no end in sight, climate change and nuclear and emerging weapons, saying humanity is edging towards the unimaginable, a powder keg that risks engulfing the world.
I stand before you in this whirlwind, convinced of two overriding truths. First, the state of our world is unsustainable. We can't go on like this. And second, the challenges we face are solvable. But that requires us to make sure the mechanisms of international problem solving actually solve problems. The Summit of the Future was a first step, but we have a long way to go.
Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accused Russia of planning to attack Ukrainian nuclear power plants. Foreign Minister Wang Yi stressed all parties should truly be committed to promoting peace talks. Danny Zhou reports.
At the United Nations Security Council, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accused Russia of committing international crimes, targeting Ukrainian civilians and energy infrastructure, including planning to attack 3 nuclear power plants. In his call for action, Zelensky noted that Russia's war against Ukraine cannot be calmed by talks, but it will end because the UN Charter will work.
Russia can only be forced into peace. And that is exactly what's needed, forcing Russia into peace as the sole aggressor in this war, the sole violator of the UN Charter.
As part of his victory plan, Zelensky has been gathering support from Western allies to allow the use of imported long-range missiles to strike deeper into Russia. This as the European Union Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell said their military support for Ukraine had allowed it to defend itself, and the quickest possible way to achieve peace is Russia withdrawing its troops from Ukraine. Zelensky also told the UN Security Council that Moscow has no legitimate reason to make Iran and North Korea its de facto accomplices. And U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken accused the two countries for aiding and abetting Russia, which he said violated multiple Security Council resolutions.
The more Russia relies on their support, the more Iran and North Korea extract in return.
And that, as Blinken put it, would exacerbate threats to peace and security in the Indo-Pacific, the Middle East, and beyond. Foreign Minister Wang Yi stressed China is pursuing peace talks and conducting shuttle diplomacy. He warned any attempt to blame, attack, or smear China on the Ukraine issue is irresponsible and will not succeed. He also highlighted the sense of urgency in managing spillovers as China appeals to the international community to boost cooperation on energy, finance, trade, food security, and the protection of key infrastructure to keep global supply chains stable. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Still ahead, Sri Lanka's new president calls for new parliamentary elections after naming a new prime minister. A rising amount of food illegally brought into Hong Kong by cross-border travelers. And more than 100 schools get the green light from the government to raise their tuition fees. Welcome back to TVB News. Sri Lanka's new president, Anura Kumara Dissanayake, dissolved parliament late Tuesday and called for a parliamentary election on November 14th. The move is seen as an effort to consolidate power after his weekend election victory. Earlier, Dissanayake swore in an opposition lawmaker as his prime minister. 54-year-old Harini Amara Surya is a university lecturer and activist. Both the new president and prime minister are members of the Marxist-leaning National People's Power Coalition. Disanayake's party holds only 3 seats in the 225-member parliament, and a snap election could help him take control of the chamber while his approval ratings remain intact. The People's Liberation Army Rocket Force has launched an intercontinental ballistic missile into the waters of the Pacific Ocean. Xinhua News Agency reported that the launch was undertaken at about 8 a.m. today. The ballistic missile carried a dummy warhead and landed in the predetermined sea area. The launch was said to be a routine arrangement in the annual military training. The Defense Ministry said the launch aims to test the performance of the weapons and the Army. The ministry added the training follows international laws and does not target any specific country. More than 100 private schools and schools under the district subsidy scheme, as well as more than 60 international schools, are allowed to increase their tuition fees for the current academic year. That follows the Education Bureau's approval of their fee hike. They include 53 DSS schools. The fees for 6 of these schools will rise by more than 5.6%. Meanwhile, students at 73 private schools will see an average increase of over 5%. 65 international schools also got the green light to raise their tuition fees, which will go up by an average of 4.53%. But one fee hike application has been declined. 705 kindergarten applications for fee adjustments have been processed as well. The median tuition fee for full-day kindergartens is around $1,000 per term. The sale of half-price cinema tickets as part of the celebrations of the 75th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China began today. The half-price sales are subsidized by the Film Development Fund. Adult, senior citizens, children, and student tickets will all be available at half price. It's expected that more than 180,000 moviegoers will be able to enjoy the discount. Customs authorities have reminded people not to bring raw meat and eggs into Hong Kong. The amount of illegally imported food seized in the first 8 months of the year has already surpassed last year's total by about 30%. Ahead of the National Day Golden Week holiday, customs officers have stepped up enforcement. They distribute leaflets at the border which warn travelers not to bring food in illegally. For the first 8 months of the year, customs authorities reported 1,324 cases of people illegally bringing food into the city. Uncooked meat accounted for 62% of the items seized, poultry 10%, and egg products 28%. Authorities say since the food is not chilled during transportation, it could pose a health risk. Almost half of the people arrested are retirees or housewives. 77% of them are Hong Kong citizens, and most of them said they are not clear about the rules. A fast food chain restaurant is set to launch the city's first soft meal versions of signature dishes for residents with swallowing difficulties on October 1st. The company hopes to provide a safe alternative for such individuals to enjoy their classic dishes. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Curry chicken, tomato pork chop, creamed corn with pork, as well as sweet and sour pork. These are among some of Hong Kong's most popular fast food dishes. But look more closely and you'll realize these dishes are soft meal versions of the original. The 4 dishes are the first created by this fast food chain that cater to members of the community suffering from swallowing difficulties. This, as Professor Chan Mei-Kei, the director of the Swallowing Research Laboratory of the University of Hong Kong, said close to 40% of elderly residents suffer from swallowing difficulties. She added their health condition complicates the feeding work performed by their carers and increases their stress. Francis Low, the CEO of the fast food chain, noted some of the challenges of restoring the restaurant's signature flavors through the soft meals.
The cost is 2 to 3 times a normal equivalent meal. So it's actually significantly more expensive. But we're trying to keep the selling price within range of what you would buy at our stores. Getting the taste profile to accurately reflect what we have in the store was actually a huge challenge. A lot of the ingredients can't be used, and when mixed with the thickeners, they don't work well, so we had to come up with completely new recipes.
The fast food chain said speech therapy assessment counters will be set up at designated outlets to help conduct swallowing assessments for those in need. Besides the taste, these soft meals emphasize the importance of maintaining the original shape and appearance of their dishes. This is because the fast food restaurant chain hopes its meals will not strip its consumers of their dignity when eating. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.